so next we're going to be doing resting blood pressure. So for this, we're going to have our stethoscope, and we're going to have this is called a sphygmomanometer, but it's also referred to just as a blood pressure cuff. All right, so you're going to have those two things. Obviously on the stethoscope, these two are going to be going into your ear, and you want them to be tilted forward so that they're going into my ear like that. If it's this way, this would be backwards, and it would be going into the part of my ear that I would not be going right into the canal that I could hear. So obviously we want it to be tilted forward. And then here on the sphygmometer, we have our cuff here. The units here are going to be millimeters of mercury, so we have the different amounts of pressure at these different points. And what we're going to be looking for is we're going to be looking for systolic and diastolic blood pressure. So obviously less than basically 120/80 is ideal. So you're going to listen for that first whoosh in here, which I'll show you guys in a minute. That's going to be your systolic number, and you're going to listen for that second one, basically that second whoosh or when it stops, and that's going to be your diastolic number. All right, so first things first, again, we want our participant or subject to be resting. We want them seated with both feet on the floor, so Alexa, please have both feet firm on the floor there. Good job. And we want them to be rested and calm, cool, and collected, because we want a true resting value, just like heart rate. So next what we're going to do is we're going to put the sphygmometer on, and we're going to set up our stethoscope. So we want them to be resting. We want their arm to be same thing in the supinated position here. Again, it could be rested on their thigh or elevated on a desk. All right, and then we'll get started. So let's put this on first. So most of these cuffs are going to have basically guidelines or instructions on how to put them on. So this is going to be obviously the artery mark as noted here, this side against the limb. So what that's going to be is you're going to line that up with the artery that's going through the antecubital space here. So this part in the crevice of your elbow is called the antecubital space, and that's what we're going to be palpating, and we are going to be secluding that space right above it. So first, I want to take that artery mark. I'm going to put that right there, right on top of where we're going to be going, just like it says. I'm going to put that nice and tight, and then we're going to inflate it. So this here is for restricting or loosening pressure, so we want to make sure it's tight. That way that it can inflate this cup for us. So next we want to set up our stethoscope. So I'm going to put it in my ear, and I'm going to put it, they say about 1 inch above the antecubital space right here. Okay, so we're going to do that. And don't be afraid to put a little bit of pressure on that. Don't put too much, but you want to make sure you're going to be able to hear what's going on in there. So next we're going to inflate the cuff to about 200. For most people, you can leave it there for a couple seconds. For bigger participants or bigger guys, that it takes a little bit longer for that blood to truly occlude. So sometimes you'll count to like 8 or 10 seconds for that. So let's do that. So we're going to inflate the cuff up to 200. I'm going to count in my head 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then as I let out this air, I'm going to look to see where I hear that first whoosh. Slowly. Just heard it right there. And I'm listening to hear where I stop hearing that whoosh. And right there. So it's about 112/76 or 74, and that's going to be her resting blood pressure. So like I said, I was listening to hear that first whoosh, and as it came down, I stopped hearing it right around there, right above the marking for 110, and obviously well below the marking of 120, so it's around 112. And then I was listening to hear where I stopped hearing that thumping or stopped hearing that whooshing, and it's going to be around 74, I said, right? Around 74. All right, that's it.